In this video, I'll go into detail on 6 different teams that I used to 36-star version 4.1 of the Abyss. I'll also give you a few tips and tricks that I learned on my journey to the bottom of this Abyss. I've also included builds with new weapons and artifacts, but before I get into the details, I put a lot of time and effort into my videos, so if you're interested in high quality Genshin Impact content, please subscribe. It's free and you can always change your mind. Okay, now let's get into it. So unlike the previous Abyss cycles, this Abyss doesn't throw any curveballs until floor 12, which I'm super thankful for because on the previous cycle, 11-1 was probably the most annoying troll that I've ever experienced in the Abyss. If you missed it, both chambers were filled to the brim with various slimes, whopper flowers, and specters. I had to retry this chamber far more times than I would like to admit. But back to the current Abyss cycle. Because it's a pretty standard refresh, I'll only go into detail on floor 12. For me, 12-1 is probably the most difficult of the 3 chambers. Which brings me to my first tip. Don't focus on getting 3 stars in the first chamber until you finish getting 3 stars in both chamber 2 and 3. It's much easier to test and tweak your parties in chamber 1. So build your parties with the goal of clearing chambers 2 and 3 first. So another tip for when you're grinding a specific chamber for all of its precious stars, study your enemies. The more you know about how an enemy functions, the better you'll be at anticipating its next attack. You can fight the overworld variants to get some practice. Just keep in mind that the enemies in the Abyss are often much stronger than the ones found in the overworld. The first enemy you will face in floor 12 is the new boss, a unicorn seahorse. It's definitely more a horse or a unicorn than a seahorse, but anatomy aside, it's attackable when it first appears. However, it is heavily resistant to all attacks. After about 9 or 10 seconds, you are finally able to start attacking its shield. The shield is generated from the electro-infused Xenomare Pearl that it holds. This pearl grants it 60% resistance to all damage and enables it to use stronger attacks. Once this enemy decides it's ready to fight, often the first move is to jump back, then fire off some electro-fish that tracks onto the player. But it's easy enough to bypass this first attack by properly timing a burst. It can only perform this attack when the pearl is intact. To help ensure that you have enough time to clear the second chamber, you should try to disable its shield before it decides to try and recharge its pearl by flinging it into the air and summoning 3 coral orbs. These orbs are easily broken with an elemental reaction, but the high-flying seahorse will be trying to prevent you from destroying them. It will periodically summon large lightning strikes that are centered on the player. If you are unable to destroy the coral orbs in time, the pearl will recover durability based on the number of orbs left on the field. Now this boss has a number of other attacks, but I'm not going to cover them all because this video is going to be long enough as it is. Instead, I'll link the Wikipedia page down in the description. There you will find all the details about its other attacks. Now the second half of Chamber 1 is an entirely different story than the first half. There's so many rift towns that it becomes very difficult to choose a target. When there's this many enemies, typically you want a good crowd control unit in your party, such as Kazuha, Venti, or Sucrose. But because these enemies prefer to attack in a pack, you don't really need anyone to group up all the enemies together. It's also worth noting that the second halves of Chamber 2 and 3 are just single boss enemies, so you don't really need crowd control in the second half of floor 12. Instead, someone with a large AoE is more ideal in this situation. But for this chamber, I found that if you can focus your attacks on the adult rift hounds, you're more likely to clear this round faster. As for the Pyro Abyss mages that come next, it's best to have a solid hydro applicator in your party. One problem with these mages is that they spawn far enough apart that it's hard to get them grouped up. Even if you have someone like Kazuha in the team, it's incredibly difficult to attack more than one at a time. I actually found it worth the time to just retreat to a far end of the arena and wait a few seconds for them to teleport to you. Usually they will teleport close enough together that it won't take long to destroy their shields. Once their shields are gone, they are super weak and won't take long to finish off. Now if you're trying to clear floor 12 without changing teams, I recommend having a good Animo unit in the first half. They can help a bit in Chamber 1, but starting at Chamber 2 they become much more valuable. The Bishop hatchlings are pretty easy, just watch out for their energy drain attacks and you shouldn't have too many issues with them. It becomes more difficult once you finish off the Bishops and have to face the new Clockwork Mecha enemies. The construction mech will typically follow you around, so it's best to target the suppression specialist who primarily uses ranged attacks. If you don't have a shielder in the team, then watch out for when the construction mech starts doing a spin attack. In the second half, you'll face the new boss, a duet of dancing robots, Coppelia and Coppelius. This pair attacks with both Anemo and Cryo elements. There are two variants of this boss, but this Coppelia variant has slightly more Cryo attacks than Anemo. I highly recommend Shielder with this boss. It isn't completely necessary, but it can make the difference between 2 and 3 stars. Layla is probably the best option unless you have Xiangling. Diona is another great option if you don't have Layla or if you also need a healer. The reason a shielder is so helpful is because this boss unleashes attack after attack. During the climax attack, the robots split up and will increase their resistance to all damage by 25%. One robot stays in the center, all the while unleashing AoE attacks. Meanwhile, the other begins circling the arena, periodically firing off ice blades at the player. While all this is going on, there are 3 whirlwinds constantly swirling around between the robots. So you have 3 options: be really good at dodging, have a decent shielder, or try to stun the robot with Pneuma attacks. If you can strike them with 3 Pneuma attacks during a single climax, you will stop the onslaught and stun the duo for a short period of time. Now onto the third and final chamber of the Abyss. In the first half, you have to face 3 enemies. A single level 100 Mirror Maiden is your first foe. The Mirror Maiden is up to its usual shenanigans, trying to lock you in place and teleporting around the arena in an attempt to escape the inevitable. She has a lot of HP, 831,900 to be exact, so you'll want to avoid her attacks and try to anticipate when she's going to teleport. This way you can avoid wasting a burst or a skill. You'll also want to make sure your team is capable of dishing out a lot of damage because the next enemies have even more HP. The final 2 opponents are a pair of the new Fatui enemy, the Wind Operative. With 970,550 health for each of the Wind Operatives, you'll need to do your very best to keep them grouped up. The goal is to damage both of them at the same time. Kazuha or Venti are the best options here, but you can just use a charged attack and knock back one of the enemies until they're close together. Just keep in mind that this will take a lot longer and can be much trickier to pull off. They are also extremely powerful and can easily one-shot most characters with their most powerful attack, Hunt Down. This attack will sacrifice 5% of their max HP to initiate this attack. If you are hit by the first strike, you will receive a life bond equal to 16% of the operative's attack. This bond is stackable and lasts for 10 minutes. If you've already been affected by this life bond, their Hunt Down attack will deal 250% of its original damage. In addition to the life bond, they also apply corrosion. One upside is that off-field characters cannot die from corrosion. However, on-field characters can die to it, so when you see this mark above your head, try to avoid the upcoming attack. Obviously, if you have a strong shielder, you don't need to be so careful.
Here comes the finale.
Now for the final chamber, you'll face the new normal boss, the Experimental Field Generator. It deals geo damage and is capable of manipulating gravity with its attacks. One such attack gives players a jump boost, making it easier to execute plunging attacks and allows you to dodge large shockwaves that expand outwards. To initiate this attack, it first teleports to the center of the arena and creates a gravity reduction field. If the gravity-defying robot is hit by 3 Pneuma-aligned attacks, while in this state, the gravity reduction field will end, and it will switch back to using its less powerful geo attacks. Despite having 1.3 million HP, this boss can be pretty easy to take out. It has 70% geo resistance, but otherwise only has 10% all elemental damage resistance. Just be careful if you aren't able to disable its gravity reduction field. So that covers the most difficult enemies that you'll encounter in version 4.1 of the Abyss. Here are the 6 teams that I used to 36-star this Abyss. I'll quickly flip through everyone's build infographics. The next time I do one of these videos, I'll go into detail on each character and their individual builds. I'll even discuss alternatives so that way you can easily find a team that works for you. I'll also have better timing with these Abyss videos from now on. I'll do my best not to wait until the final round of the Abyss. The new version of the Abyss will be out soon, so subscribe so you don't miss my next video. I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Feel free to follow me on Twitch. I've been trying to stream more often and I could use the company. Also, did you know that I have a second YouTube channel? It's where I post my past live streams and other random content. All the links are in the description, but thanks so much for watching until the end. You're the best.